Let's move on to our second topic.
Waiting for them to go and sit down in the office and write for you.
Let's move on to our second topic. Do you think that it's time we took a second look at how appointments and dismissals of heads of security agencies are made in the country?
Now, I would rather, I've said it on many occasions, that I would love for the security heads to have tenures. For instance, which tenure must transcend an executive president's tenure. For instance, we'll be having the election in 2024. So if a new IGP were to be coming to office, his appointment should be around 2022, taking office in 2023. So that if he has a 4-year tenure, so that if there is election, his interest is not merged in the conduct of that election. Because if an IGP knows that his tenure is coterminous with that of the president, what do you think his interest will be?
What would his interest be?
He's a stakeholder. He has an interest in the conduct of the election. You get it? Because when the president goes, he's going away. Okay? That's been the issue. So I thought, yes, we should look at that. But that will be hinged on the overhaul or changing of major parts of the Constitution. Until and unless this Constitution is reviewed, I think what my good brother Franklin Cudjoe and Professor Kwesi Enin are doing is just to give us a public frenzy, okay? It's not going to have legs to stand on, because they cited clauses, Article 200, 202, 123, 205, and co. I want to read Article 195 of the Constitution. Now, if you permit me, appointments, etc., of public officers, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the power to appoint persons to hold or to act in an office in the public services shall vest in the President, acting in accordance with the advice of the Governing Council of the service concerned, given in consultation with Public Services Commission. You get it? And if you go to Public Services Commission, they also derive their power from the President. And I say we should premise these on the executive presidency we are practicing. Article 58. Okay.
Yes. Well, the Constitution clearly provides for how these officers should be appointed.
Yes.
There's no clear provision on how they should be dismissed.
Good. So if he says appointed, the Constitution didn't tell the time of appointment. Okay? And we are all aware that we go to the polls every 4 years to elect an executive president. Okay? That's why the lawyers will tell you the spirit of the Constitution and the letter of the Constitution. What is the spirit that informed these things? Okay? What is the spirit? Where the Constitution wants the person to have security of tenure, the Constitution says so. In the case of the Auditor General, in the case of the Electoral Commissioner, okay? The Constitution expressly says so. Where it doesn't, in the case of the IGP, the Controller General of the Immigration Service, the Chief Fire Officer, and the Director General of the Prison Service, come on. You cannot compel something that is not there to be there. It is succinct. When you go to the police service, the appointment of the IGP, it says it's clear that the power is with the president. And when we talk of executive power or executive authority, okay, what they explain, you know, the Illinois State Law Review, volume 2003, I read that. It's saying that, it tells you that the power of the president, the one who holds the executive authority to execute the law, is to execute the law. And the IGP's power emanates from that of the president, and not the statutes that creates the IGP's office. If you read that, that is what it tells. So it tells me...
I'm sorry, you're saying that the power of the IGP does not come from the statutes that creates the office?
Yes, but by the explanation of the Illinois State Law Review.
Why are you using the Illinois State Law Review?
No, but when you do, why do we do literature? Why do we do cross-referencing? There's a UK case as well. Now, what it means is that...
You're not taking the Togo case.
No, you can take that.
No,
okay.
I'm asking you. We've read that law review,
yes,
but
yes.
I know. I mean that in legal practice, we can take key learnings from other jurisdictions.
Good.
But we are not bound by them. While we can take key learnings from Illinois, we're not bound by it.
Executive power. What is it? What is an executive power? Okay, that's why, you know, if you read further, you see that even most that we talk of Montesquieu, the separation of powers.
Separation of powers.
Aristotle also spoke about separation of powers and all that. You get it? And so, yes, if you go there, you say the president has the power to appoint, but there's nothing. The Constitution is silent on how to disappoint.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. You see now? So once it didn't say so, the Constitution knows that the president will need a team of people to work with. Okay? Professor Mills says something.
I'm concerned about what you said, that the statutes creating the office is not the document which the IGP derives his powers from.
The power
that's what I'm concerned about.
The executive president.
But I think we should go around the table, and if there's more time, I'll come back to you.
Let me finish this one. Professor Mills did say something. We disagreed with him then. He said he will appoint people who align with his vision to work with. And at that time, people were not too comfortable because he's a law professor and people know who he is. And so they wonder, okay, so what does it mean? What is he saying? Okay? And you cannot discount the concept of people being loyal to the cause and the vision of the leader. Okay? And so if you decide to practice executive presidency, these things are also factored. And in the spirit, the framers of the Constitution brought that. That's why they created Parliament also, for these checks and balances and the judicial service. But I think in the interpretation process, Professor Kwesi Enin and my good friend,
Judge, I have to ask you to hold the thought. You made a point. Let me come to Bernard.
Yes.
Bernard.
Let it be the headache of the Supreme Court.
Yes.
to deal with the matter.
Yes.
As is before them. But I just want to make it clear that the Constitution is as good as the person who is the leader of the nation and becomes the embodiment and executor of the Constitution. If you have a very terrible leader, it doesn't matter how good you have written your Constitution. The structures of governance will be berated and depreciated. See, it was President Mills who decided that DCEs have a tenure of 4 years. DCEs, MCEs, and what have you, they have a tenure of 4 years. And when he came into office, he was not in a hurry to dismiss them. He actually asked them to hold on. This was at the very high cost because his party members were eager to take over. He gave direct instructions that, hey, we will look at your term. And most of the people, what happened? As soon as, okay, you were appointed this day, your tenure is 4 years. Until your 4 years was over, you remain a DCE.
Okay.
Right?
That is how a good leader acts. I recall at the office of the Vice President, Aliu Mahama had a chief director. That chief director was inherited by John Mahama. They did not sack that chief director, as has been the case in most instances.
Bernard.
Do you understand? They worked. And even when the person's work ethics were high, the person on, what do we call it, on going on retirement was reappointed in a different form because the person was knowledgeable in his field. That is what good leaders do.
Okay.
What did we see when President Akufo-Addo took over? Every institution, sack.
It's not true.
Would you support any calls for these powers to be taken from the president and given to these security agencies to appoint their own heads?
Abbas. Abbas was not chief director.
All right, Bernard, let me come to Honorable George and Bernard. George and Bernard. Please, let's talk to you.
No, he was not chief
Gentlemen.
Abbas was that
Gentlemen.
what do you call
Gentlemen.
it? Feeder route.
Gentlemen.
Abbas was a feeder route. You don't know anything.
Bernard Mona.
Do you understand? So clearly, this constitution
Bernard
that you
Mona,
just put here,
please land.
Constitution that you put here, no matter the amendments that we have done, if you have a terrible leader like President Akufo-Addo, the constitution will never be good.
The President Akufo-Addo, now I'm not interjecting on
President
Akufo-Addo says the executive powers are too much. That's why he wants.
All right.
Let me say that I am one of the persons who believe that the 1992 constitution should be reviewed, because now, first and foremost, we have to be very careful about the politicization of our security architecture. If you go to the military, you have NDC persons, NPP persons. You go to the police service, you have NDC persons,
we don't have
NPP persons.
The reason why we have to sack the
if you go to all the security agencies, you can tell, and the government of the day can even tell you that, or some members of the government can tell you that, oh, the current IGP is not our person. That is why they, did that ploy in order to get him out and all of that.
To the president.
Yes, yeah.
You must give thumbs up to the president.
George, please allow him to land.
But what I'm just trying to say is that now, let the constitution be reviewed.
Okay.
Let the various security agencies be able to appoint their own heads. Let them be able to do their own promotions.
You think this power should be taken from the president?
It should be taken from the president.
Okay.
It should be taken from the president so that no head of security agencies will be doing any political party's bit. Once I know that I'm secured, my job security is guaranteed, I will be able to do the right thing. But you see, the IGP wants to work, but he's afraid that there is somebody who can just ask me to leave. How do I work? The person is protecting his job. He doesn't want anyone to first sand into his gari. So how do you just oppose the two? So it's a difficult terrain for these security heads.
You think they'll be conflicted?
Yeah, they are conflicted. They themselves are not happy. Now, I have even said that in other jurisdictions, even persons that are appointed to the Superior Court or our court, if you want to be part of the judiciary system as a lawyer, there should be a way that after your graduation as a lawyer, go into the judiciary service so that you can be appointed a judge. Not for you to come out as a lawyer and do a political party bidding, campaign for a political party, and in order to catch the eye of the president. Then the president says that you have been appointed as a Supreme Court judge. You have been appointed as Court of Appeal judge. When you are carrying that, you are wearing that political colors there. That is what we are doing, and we are destroying our governance. Everything in this country now is being politicized. Chief directors, they are not supposed to be political. Now, when you go there, they will tell you that this director is our person. They appoint a minister. The minister is saying that I want this chief director to work with because he's an MPP man. How can we run a system like this? The system is not being run well. So for me, let this look. If you want the IGP should be appointed based on long stay. You climb through the ladder and get the nod to be the IGP so that you know you are secured.
Yeah.
Then you can do your job without fear or favor.
That's actually what happens, isn't it?
No.
But your problem is with the appointments.
No,
eventually.
the appointment.
With the appointments, but the processes that you have just number of years of service,
it is considered, but there are times, there are situations that senior members of the police service, some of them are being sidestepped and they appoint somebody like
Because
a
of their
junior and all
politics.
of that.
No, commissioners, yes. I
You
agree
understand?
with
It's
that.
politics.
But what he's saying...
Appointments at
The
that level
Constitution-
is more or less politics.
I see.
And that should not be the case.
Our Constitution is a
Okay.
blend of the
So
US
that-
and the British.
that
In Britain,
That sound tells us that our time is up. That sound tells us that our sound is up. Our
Everybody
time is
knows
up.
where their limits are.
So let me. So your microphones are off. So I encourage you to please let me read these messages from our listeners. All right. Kofi Owusu Ishia Jr., a retired teacher and a farmer and politician, says, now please, it cannot be true that because we were asked to weed in school, we are not going into farming. Some of the punishments in school include standing up in class, but a lot of people want to be security men. What about that? Some of us write many lines for being talkatives in class, and yet we are journalists and academicians. Farming is also a vocation. If you are not interested, all right. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Thank you so much for sending that in. That's all I can read. We're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll have sports. Stay tuned.